Morning everyone, my name's Andy and this is my dog Evie. And I brought Evie today because I want to think about the contrast between us as people and dogs. And the big contrast for me is that we as people can have an awful lot on our minds, past, present and future, but dogs, in contrast to us, tend to just be in the present. And I'm thinking about that because in Luke chapter 22 and in 1 Corinthians 11, we read there about communion. And Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me. In other words, call to mind who I am when you take communion. Because in doing that, we remember who Jesus is. We feed on who Christ is. That he is Lord, that he is love, that he is life, that he is the one who forgives us. And that's really important because not just in that act, but Jesus calls us to it as a way of life. So in John 6 verse 56, Jesus says, whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me and I remain in him. So communion is symbolic, really. It's an enactment of a way of life that Christ wants us to lead in him, in feeding on him. And it's wonderful because Jesus also says that this cup is the cup of the new covenant in my blood. So really, when we come to live in Christ, he is covenanting himself to us in kindness and in love. And in taking communion, we remember his kindness in his body broken and his blood poured out for us. So I want to ask you today, what are you feeding on, or who are you feeding on? Because Jesus wants us to feed on him. And today, maybe you're feeling a little bit fed up with yourself, or upset with other people, disappointed, or hurt, or sad, or your mind's full of stuff, or you're just too busy. And I want to encourage you to draw close to Christ and to feed on him. Because communion really only makes sense when we examine our hearts, as it encourages us to do in 1 Corinthians 11. And also when we receive Christ's heart for us. And that's what he wants us to do. And we can take communion by ourselves. We can take it with a few friends in our home. We don't have to do it in church. And indeed, it's a wonderful celebration of our life together in Christ too. So I want to encourage you to take communion, but more importantly, I also want to encourage you to feed on Christ and to keep being mindful of him in your daily walk. God bless.